Hello, so we're back. We are moving on to multiplying polynomials. So number, monomial, monomial, binomial. So we're not going to get, and then monomial times a trinomial. We're not going to get into foiling yet. You will do that on Tuesday. Yes, okay. All right, so I'm going to get started. So here we go. Okay. Okay, we're gonna multiply polynomials. I'm just gonna start from the basics and we'll slowly work up to almost about to where we start to FOIL, and then that will be a whole separate video for Tuesday. Okay, this is for Monday's work, okay? And then of course another video will be the assignment as usual, okay? All right, so we're gonna multiply polynomials. Okay, so the first three examples will be find the product of the two numbers. The second batch will be find the product of a number and a one term, which is a monomial. I know this was like, I don't know why I couldn't draw a 9. It was just, it came out terrible. Okay, find the product of two monomials. And then there's a little bit of recall for your Law of Exponents that you went over in middle school, integrated math 1, like somewhere around there. And then we're going to get into find the product of a monomial times a binomial, and then simplify each expression, which is the next batch of that assignment that you did on Friday with the left column. We're now moving on into the right column, okay? All right, so here we go. Find the product. This is like so easy. All right, what is 3? And even though that dot, you guys know that means multiply, right? That's the operation, multiplication. 3 times 4 is 12, right? And whether you have a grouping symbol around the second number or the second term, it's 5 times 8, 40, right? Remember, a constant is still a monomial. It's just a constant, right? It's just the base and the exponent is 0. Okay, what is 1/2 times 10? 5, right? Easy. Okay, so now let's elevate. Find the product of a number and a monomial. So remember, here are your constants. These are your numbers. 3, -6, 7, 9, -10, 1/2, or 0.5. Okay, you guys know from this class, you don't deal too much with 0.5s. Usually we stick to integers, positive and negative, right? Okay, so here we go. 3 times 2 is 6. And so you only have an x here. Now, that is really x to the 1. Remember, okay. 1 is implied in mathematics and in English, right? If your friend's over, which, oh, that was so long ago when you had company, right? They're over and you're like, hey, do you want a Coke? Or, oh, do you want a water bottle? Or, oh, do you want an apple? You don't say like, oh, do you want one Coke? It's implied, right? When you order at Starbucks or In-N-Out, you're like, oh, let me get a number 2. So 1 is implied. So when you see a nothing here, it's a 1 because it's implied in your English language. It's like that or a. So it's implied. So there's really a 1 here. Okay, anyways, back to math. -6 times 5, -30, x. And whether you want to, whoa, I skipped it. And whether you want to write the 1 or you don't want to write the 1, it doesn't matter. For those of you that went to IM3, I don't need to tell you anything. You know what you need to do. Okay, 7 times 3, 21, and then we just have an x cubed, right? So far, so good. I didn't mess up. I know how to do the math, but I tend to mess up sometimes on these videos. Okay, 9 times 2 is 18, x squared. -10, 9, -90, x squared. This is bleeding in. 1/2 times -6 is -3x, or you could put it down here, right? Now remember, there is no shame in your calculator. So, you know, for the 1/2, you would hit that. This button is for the fraction, right? 1 down 2, there's my 1/2. You're going to click out to the right, and then you can put times, or you can put parenthesis, right? If you just wanted to know what 1/2 of -6 was, right? Oh, wait, let me delete that. Whoops. There is your -3. So if you want to test this, granted, you can't put the x in there, but if you want to test just in terms of the product of the two coefficients, the numbers, you can do that, okay? All right, next bit. Find the product of two monomials. So we're multiplying two terms together, meaning there's no constants anymore. We now have two terms where there's a base and an exponent, right? So here we go. Okay, so recall the law of exponents. I forgot. Okay, recall the law of exponents for multiplication is if the bases are the same, and in this case they're the same. See, xx, 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 xx. Now in this, you know, I made them all the same. If the bases are the same or they're the same letter, then you add the exponents. You add. So multiplication for exponents and for bases means adding. Okay, so what does that mean? You're going to multiply the coefficients and add the exponents. So you're going to multiply and add at the same time. So what is 3 times 2? Because those are your coefficients, right? 3 is a coefficient of x to the 1. 2 is a coefficient of x squared. So 3 times 2 is 6. And now I know my base is x, but what is my exponent? It is the sum because you're going to add the 2. Now this has 2, this has 1. Remember in math, 1 is implied. So what is 1 plus 2, right? 1 plus 2 gives me x cubed. And that's my product. Okay, here. Negative 6 times 2, negative 12. X to the, this is x squared, x, but you understand that there's really a 1 here. So what is 2 plus 1? X cubed. Okay, next. 1x, right? It's really 1x to the 1, 1x to the 1. So if you want to be really extra, you can put all this up here, right? So what's 1 times 1? 1x. And what's 1 plus 1? 2. So you can write 1x squared, or you can just write x squared, and we understand 1 is implied. Okay, here, this is, again, 1 is implied. The negative there, it is really negative 1. There's really a 1 here. So what's negative 1 times 9? Negative 9x. And then there's 3, and there's 1. So 1 plus 3 gives me 4, right? Now, if you were to expand this is x, and here's 3 x's. If you were to expand them, notice you have 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my 4. So even if you wanted to expand it, they would still add up. Okay, so remember, you multiply the coefficients, you add the exponents. Okay, so that was monomial, not monomial. Okay, so here we go. So now next, find the product of a monomial and a binomial. Okay, so here you're going to go ahead and operate, meaning you're going to multiply, but this is the distributive property. So you're going to multiply and then multiply. So here, I don't even have it written here, shocker. Okay, you're going to distribute, right? So distributive property, that's supposed to be a D. Okay, so we're going to distribute distributive property, which is all it is repetitive multiplication. You're going to repetitive multiply. So I'm going to multiply and then repeat, multiply. Okay, so I have 2 times x. Okay, well, this is a 1. So 2 times 1 is 2. X, right? Because remember, there's really a 1 there, right? So x to the 1, how many x's are there? There are 2 x's, x squared. Now you're going to go ahead and take the next term. What is 2x times 3? Okay, well, 2 times 3 is 6. This has no, right? It doesn't have the base x. This has 1, so you have this answer. 2x squared plus 6x is your answer. Okay, next. -1 times 3, right? Because we're going to first distribute or multiply to negative x to the 3x, the first term in that binomial, right? So negative x times 3 is -3. And then xx, remember there's really a 1 here and there's a 1 here. So 1 plus 1 x squared. Now the next term, go into the positive 6. Negative x times positive 6 is negative 6x. And this is your answer, which is a binomial, right? So far, so good. Okay, remember, we're just repetitive multiplying. Okay, so now here, negative 6x squared times 2x, and then we're going to take the negative 6x squared times a negative 10. Remember, when you are multiplying a monomial times a binomial, you have to take this monomial and multiply it to every term in this grouping symbol, this parenthesis. So negative 6 times 2 is negative 12, right? Negative 6 times 2 is negative 12. Okay, so now look at our x's. I have x squared, x to the 1, right? So what is 2 plus 1? X cubed. Okay, so now take the second term. So our second multiplication, what is negative 6 times negative 10? A negative times a negative is a positive 60. I hope I don't squeeze too much in there. X squared, there's no x here, right? Because this is a constant. So I'm just going to carry over the x squared since it doesn't have any exponents to add to. And there's your answer. Okay, and so the next one, let's distribute. 5x cubed times 4x squared. 5 times 4 is 20. X, 3 plus 2 is x to the 5. Sorry. So 3 plus 2, 5. 5 times 4 is 20. Remember, you multiply the coefficients, you add the exponents. The big guys get multiplied, the little ones get added. Okay, so now, next term. 5 times negative 1, negative 5. X to the 3. This is really a 1. 4. So 20x to the 5th minus 5x to the 4th, and that is your answer, sorry. And that is your answer. Okay, remember, your answers must be in standard form. Now, standard form, SF, standard form, is in descending degree order, descending exponent order. So notice 2, 1, perfect. 2, 1, perfect. 3, 2, perfect. 5, 4, perfect. So this is acceptable. Okay, so now let's simplify each expression. So here we go. We now have a monomial times a binomial times a binomial, mono times bi, and here I have a mono times a trinomial, because there's 3 terms, monomial, 1 term, times a trinomial, 3 terms. So now we're going to clean it up, okay? So we're just getting you to understand now combining like terms. So here we go. Negative 3 times a, negative 3a, negative 3 times negative 3, positive 9, right? Negative 3 times a is negative 3a, negative, positive. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, I'm done with this. Now let's move on to this distributive property, right? So we're performing the distributive property right now. We have to multiply. Now, it's not just straight multiplication because we have a grouping symbol. And so that grouping parenthesis makes it repetitive. So it's like multiply, repeat, multiply. Here, we're going to repeat, okay? So positive 6 times negative 6 is negative 36a squared, because this is a 1, that's a 1, right? So positive, negative 36, a squared. Next, positive 6 times negative 5, negative 30, and then a to the 1. Right? Okay, now I put this in horizontal format. Notice I performed the distributive property and I just line them up, and then from there I could combine like terms. So my next step is going to combine like terms. However, if you wanted to go ahead and take the vertical formats, this is the horizontal format. If you wanted the vertical format, okay, just before, let me finish this one and then I'll do it over again. Okay, so here we go. largest to smallest. I want it in standard form. Your answer better be in standard form. So this is my largest exponent. So this is going to go first. Negative 36a squared. So this goes first. Okay, now second. A to the 1 power. Minus 3 minus 30 minus 33a. And then lastly, here's my constant. Oh, it was out of, why is it out of focus? Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, you know what? I think my finger got in the camera. Sorry. Okay, so then here is your standard form answer. Okay, this was horizontal format. So what if you wanted the vertical format? Okay, so you multiply. Negative 3 times a is negative 3a. Negative 3 times negative 3, positive 9. Positive 6a minus 6a is negative 36a squared. I'm not going to line it up under the a because it's a squared. Positive 6a, negative 5, negative 30a. And so now you have it lined up. You have your a squared, your a, your constant. And so now you just go ahead and bring it down. Oh, it sometimes does that. And here is your standard form. Yeah, it's doing it a lot today. And there you go. Okay, so when you are performing these, simplifying these expressions with double distributive property, you can perform the horizontal format by just going ahead and distribute and just lining them one after the other. Just be careful with the symbols and just make sure you know how to combine them. Or you can go ahead and do the vertical format, which you just try your best to start lining them up vertically. It's just you have to give yourself space. Where I put the vertical format, I didn't give much space here, so kind of squeeze a little bit. And so this one I had to shove back a little bit more. Okay, but I mean, you essentially get the idea. Okay, so now here's the next one. So distribute, right? So I get negative 40b, right? 5 times negative 8 is negative 40. B, no B, so 1B. Okay, so next, 5B times 4B is 20B squared, right? 5 times 4 is 20. B1, B1, B2, right? 1 plus 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay, so I'll just do the horizontal format here. So now here, 4 times negative 8 is negative 32b. Yeah, it's like really going out of focus right now. Look, it doesn't even want to focus. I'm having technical issues. Yeah, there you go. Okay, next 4b times minus 4b is then negative 16b squared, right? 4 times negative 4, negative 16, B1, B1, B2. Okay, so now you're going to go ahead and combine like terms, right? So remember, we already did this distributive property. Now we're going to go ahead and combine like terms. Now look, there's no equal sign here. Don't be doing no opposite signs. There's no equal sign. That's why it's called combining like terms. Okay, what's our greatest? It's, yeah, see, 20b squared minus 16b squared. So what's 20 minus 16? 4b squared. Next, minus 40b minus 32b. So we have these two b terms. So negative 40. So since they're both negative, we're going to add it and keep the sign. So I get negative, come on, stop, 7. It doesn't like my hand there. Negative 72b. And there's your answer. And that is in standard form. Yeah. Okay, so now the last one. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know if it's like the evening light. So yeah, like look, it just went. There's a lot of light coming in from the window, so I don't know if it's just absorbing too much, so maybe I have to tilt it. Okay, so now you have a mono times a trie, a mono times a trie. So now we're going to go ahead and multiply 3 times, 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 right? Okay, so here we go. I'll do this one in vertical format, right? So here I did horizontal and vertical. Here I just did horizontal format, right? So this is horizontal format. So here I'll do vertical format, okay? And remember, you pick your method. You decide on the preference. I know this video is really long, but I'm about to be finished after this one. It's just that I kind of went a little extra on the beginning to kind of build up your confidence, okay? All right, so here we go. Multiply. 6 times 8 is 48. Oh, I was gonna, let's see, n squared, right? Next, multiply. 6 times negative 5, negative 30n, right? Because 6 times negative 5 is negative 30. No n, 1 n, so bring down the n. Okay, next, 6 times negative 3, negative 18, right? Because 6 times negative 3, negative 18. Okay, so I'm going to do the vertical format, right? That's how I'm gonna stack them up vertically. So I have n squared and constant. So now I'm going to go ahead and take this 3 and multiply, 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 but I'm going to line it up here, here, and here. So the first one, the second one, the third one, okay? All right, so 3n squared, 6n squared, 3 times negative 5, negative 15n, yes, okay, 3 times 3, positive 9. And now you're just going to go ahead and line it up. And just go ahead and add. So they are lined up, right? Double check, n squared and constant. Just go ahead and add, honor the symbols. So 48 plus 6, if you're kind of like, I don't know what that is, 48 plus 6, 54, right? Or you could use your fingers, right? 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, right? Okay, so 54 n squared, negative 30, negative 15, they both are negatives. So negative 45n, negative 18 plus 9, negative 9. And there is your beautiful standard form, okay? Okay, so your assignment is just continuing on what you guys did on Friday. I think it is only like 6 or 7 problems. It's really short because then on Tuesday you're going to start foiling, and then that has a bit more. Okay, and then of course now I'm going to start quizzing you guys because I think I should have most of you logged into Canvas and ready to go. Okay, all right, thank you guys. Sorry the video was so long.